I'm absolutely obsessed with the rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar. And I'm always looking for new versions, new interpretations, new costumes, new dynamics.
The great Jesus Christ.
And I'm always on the lookout for foreign language adaptations. Here, for example, the Swedish version. Naturally, the Swedish version does not deviate from the English version. It has the same tone, the same lyrics basically, and the same plot points. What happens is, of course, it is singable translation. But looking for a Russian version of Jesus Christ Superstar, I actually found a weird rendition of Herod's song. This is clearly not Herod.
Christ, you're the great Jesus Christ.
The melody is familiar enough. I was not disturbed by the exuberance or aesthetics. No, what was disturbing is the lyrics, who are totally different. They talk about love and Paris. So, the context. This movie is called Bolshebny fonar, which means magic lantern, and it's a reference to one of the earliest forms of cinema. It's a whole homage to cinema. The entire movie is just songs. More interestingly, it's just basically Western songs. You've got the music of The Godfather. Let It Be, without any religious reference. This weird introduction with the themes of Jesus Christ Superstar. Is that musically we've got a contrafactum. A contrafactum is when you take the melody and change the lyrics in a way that is not a translation from the other original lyrics. And because it is said during the Soviet Union, I think we've got a tendency to over-politicize, because, yeah, I do believe that it was partially political, because, of course, choosing not to have Jesus Christ Superstar's lyric and replacing it by something else, or removing the Virgin Mary from Let It Be, is not totally neutral. One good reason could be because you want to improvise a song and you don't want to go through improvising a melody. Say you want to sing a song for your cat or your partner and you are improvising the lyrics. It's way easier to just take a song that exists, a melody that you know. So it does remove a bit of the energy and you can just focus on the lyrics. Like, I had such a bad day, I don't like what I see. I don't like when people are mean to me. Which is our performers would actually improvise during medieval times. And I think a large part of contrafacta is just that, not wanting to compose a song. And oh, by the way, one of the most famous contrafactum is the American anthem.
Answer all right from the jolly old Grecian voice, fiddle and flute no longer be mute.
Another reason to have a contrafactum might just be because you wanted to adapt it to your own language and culture and have themes that you find relevant. In the 70s and 80s, it was really common in Europe to have American songs being adapted into the local language. So here, for example, you've got an original version, Oh What a Night, that talks about someone's first sexual encounter, when the French version is only talking about someone's first year as a singer. So I would argue that Magic Lantern is an example of a wider cultural way of reappropriating dominant American songs into local culture. Of course, within the context of the Soviet Union, there was an element of censorship, but I think the entertainment element is very, very strong. For the second example I've got of Jesus Christ Superstar in the Soviet Union, this is a way more clear-cut example of a political message. Pavlik Morozov Superstar, Pavlik Morozov Superstar, is a parody of Soviet propaganda. It takes a myth of a young boy denouncing his father to the regime, and it makes a story following exactly the plot of Jesus Christ versus Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar. The story of Pavlik Morozov is based on a real person that existed in the early 30s in the Soviet Union. The real story is really, really hard to find. Historians have been working on it, but the propaganda really took over. So basically, what the propaganda says is this young boy who was a pioneer, so like a Boy Scout, denounced his father and was murdered by his own family because of it. And you're supposed to admire Pavlik Morozov. But naturally, denouncing your father is not something that everyone is really on board with, so it was a hard sell. Even Stalin reportedly said, "the little treacherous swine," denouncing his own father. And so in 1975, a group of friends that were students in Moscow wrote their own version of the illegal Jesus Christ Superstar. They were familiar with it because it was an underground hit. And you basically have the same plot with the songs in the same order as the original rock opera. The characters are caricatures. They use very, very clear Soviet parlance, they talk like in propaganda, and they are part of a wider movement which is called sots art, which is like a reference to pop art, which was happening at the same moment. Sots art is Soviet mockery or deconstruction of codes of socialist realism. Here they are singing one of Stalin's most famous quotes. Жить стало лучше, жить стало веселее.
Жить стало лучше, товарищ. Жить стало веселее. Когда веселее живется, работа спорится.
Life has become better, life has become more joyful. And it's, of course, a sign of optimism, which contrasted with the conditions and famine and, very grim reality and conditions of the early 30s. So, of course, it's a bit ironic. Because it was such a recognizable quote, it was also very easily hijacked. In Alexander Solzhenitsyn, The Gulag's Archipelago, in the State Farm's accounting office, there hung a slogan. Life has become better. Life has become more joyful. Stalin. And someone with a red pencil added the letter U. Of course in Russian. So now it read, Life has become more joyful for Stalin. They did not search for the culprit. They arrested the entire accounting office.